That was the NFC Championship game. It ended at that moment because the 49ers didn't have another quarterback. They went with Brock Purdy, who couldn't throw the ball, in lieu of Christian McCaffrey, who had the wristband with all the plays. He was their emergency guy. And that all happened because the 49ers didn't have a third quarterback in uniform that day. We mention that because for some reason the NFL decided on the first day of free agency, for feck's sake, to announce these proposals like, folks, what are you doing? Where's the PR mindset? Friday, they're announcing the trade up from 9-1 between the Panthers and Bears after everyone's gone home for the weekend, and then now we're focused on free agency and we get the team proposals for rule changes. Are you kidding me? Unless the competition committee just wants to minimize the team proposals. But they all landed yesterday, and the Lions have proposed going back to the third quarterback rule. And Chris, I'm curious about your input on this because not that I'm never curious about your input, but specifically because you were a quarterback and you know quarterbacks as well as anyone. The rule used to be you could have a 46th guy in uniform if he was a quarterback, right? It was your emergency quarterback.
Right.
The third quarterback who could enter the game at any point in the first three quarters. If he did, the other two couldn't return. And in the fourth quarter, he could come and go as he pleased. That was the rule. But then they decided, let's just give teams a 46th guy, and they can dress whoever they want. It doesn't have to be a quarterback. So what happens is the teams don't dress a third quarterback. They dress someone else.
Yeah.
They use someone else, and
Right.
they gamble on not losing their two quarterbacks. So now they want to have the third quarterback rule brought back. It already exists. You could just use the 46th uniform for your third quarterback. And if you choose to make that gamble, then, you know, if it blows up on you, that's the bet you made. And the other point that I try to make in this context, if you get down to your game day number 3, how good is that guy going to be anyway? You're kind of already screwed if you get down to game day number 3.
Yeah, no, I mean you're certainly you're going to be treading water. I mean you're going to be running it uphill there. It's not going to be ideal, but at least it'll give you a fighting chance to where you can run an offense and unlike the NFC Championship game, have a drop back pass play every now and then, right? So Mike, that's what I wasn't sure about that either. Right? Are they talking about the third quarterback thing? I think they're talking about the third quarterback thing as like we want the 46 the way it's been. Now give us number 47. Right. Give us the 47th, right? And I hope they also don't do that dumb rule that we just talked about, where it's, if he comes in the second or third quarter, the other guys can't go in. It's, why? What's the point of that? What are we doing? Right? I there used to be a reason why they said they used to do that. It didn't make sense then. I can't remember it, and that's why it wasn't that great. But yeah, I don't understand.
The emergency quarterback. It was what they're trying to avoid in the NFC Championship, where the game's unwatchable because there's no quarterback available. That's what that rule was about. You have an emergency quarterback in the event your first two quarterbacks get injured. They want to go back to that by adding a 47th man to the roster. And, Chris, they'll do that, and then 5 or 7 years from now, they'll just say, just dress anybody for the 47th man, and we'll be right back where we were. And I'm a proponent of dressing more guys than fewer guys. I think in today's NFL, there's nothing wrong with 47, 48, 49, or even 50 guys in uniform on game day.
No, I don't understand why we, penny pinch with that stuff either. Isn't it ultimately about, the best performance that for not only the teams on the field, for what the fans see, and then, player safety and all that too. And an extra 3 or 4 guys. Now maybe my starting linebacker doesn't have to run down on kickoff coverage, every time, things like that. It gives you a little wiggle room. I wouldn't be opposed to that either, Mike. But the third quarterback thing not only makes sense from the team standpoint and all the things we said there too, but just the league, the overall look. Why would you want the product to just look like total crap if 2 guys get hurt on a given Sunday and now you're, we're in a tough spot here. Let's just make sure we have that insurance policy all the time so we don't get stuck watching some crap game on a Sunday.
As it's proposed by the Lions, teams would designate a third quarterback from the inactive list or the practice squad who would be eligible to enter a game in the event the first 2 quarterbacks are ruled out. So they would both have to be out and done for the third guy to come in. Just dress a third quarterback and use a third quarterback if you want to use a third quarterback. Again, when you get down to the third guy on the depth chart, you're not talking about John Unitas in his prime. You're talking about a guy that's barely hanging on a roster, and let him wear a uniform and be available to avoid what we saw in the NFC Championship game. The Eagles have proposed the 4th and 20 onside kick alternative. We've seen that used in the XFL this year. I think they've used it in the past. It's a way to further minimize the kickoff play, which the NFL regards as dangerous. And the onside kick, even though they've made some tweaks to it, it still is a play that entails a lot of risk because you have guys crashing into each other at the highest speed they can generate without much distance between them when they get started. This 4th and 20 alternative, and we've talked about this in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to have enough votes. It's never come close. You get into all sorts of screwy permutations, whether it's an illegal contact foul, a tug of the jersey like we saw in the Super Bowl that was so controversial to extend a drive,
right?
Or just a lucky break where a guy slips behind the defense because they're guarding the sticks and they're not guarding the end zone, and a guy goes for a touchdown. You got to guard the whole field if you're the defense in a setting like that. But this is going to keep coming up. I feel like it's inevitable at some point they're going to really try to get 24 votes because this is something the commissioner first mentioned 10 or 11 years ago in a Time magazine profile as something he wanted to see in place of the onside kick. So we'll see how that plays.
I mean, I hear all that you're saying, and they're valid points. Well, like I said, and like we said last year when we talked about this, one, it's going to favor the teams that have the elite quarterbacks on 4th and 20. It is. Now, we're a running football team. We like to, they got Mahomes. It's 4th and 20. Oh, another onside kick recovered. Oh, great. I don't know if I really want to see that. And then all the things you talked about. I mean, again, we can't forget, in Week 7 of the NFL season, not the Super Bowl, but in Week 7, if you blow in the guy's ear, it's pass interference. So we're going to be, he threw the ball into quintuple coverage. Oh, and somebody touched his foot. First down. He threw a ball 4 yards over the middle and had pressure into quintuple coverage, and we're going to reward him. And then it's going to be like NBA basketball. Just tune into the last 2 minutes, and you'll figure out who plays, who's going to win. That's what it's going to become. And, I hear this too with the onside kick. First off, teams are getting better with the onside kick. It's becoming a little bit more, wait, you can get it. We're seeing that. And, like, Mike, your point you make about the player safety thing, I saw a little of that on social or online yesterday too. But what? Throwing a jump ball over the middle on 4th and 20 is going to be good for player safety too, so guys can run into each other at full speed and have eye contact? That's where I would just push back on that thought that's out there all the time.
I just think the NFL needs to be as creative as possible if it's concerned about making the game safer. I like the XFL kickoff. It almost looks like an electric football game before you turn it on. All those guys are out there stationary as the ball sails down, and they're only 10 yards apart. The idea is reducing that full-speed collision, those big collisions that are unnecessary. So if the onside kick, if you want it safer and it makes it harder for the team that's trailing to recover, remember the commissioner said about 10 years or so ago, he always roots for the team that's trailing. You want to give the team that's behind a chance to come back. They always thump their chests about the close games, the come-from-behind games. And if they think this makes it easier for teams to come from behind, it's something they'll consider embracing. Something the Chargers want the league to embrace, a seeding change for the playoffs that could let the wildcard team host division champions if the division champion is below 500 and the wildcard team has 4 or more wins than the division champion. It's happened several times over the past 20 years where a team with a far inferior record as a division champion hosts a wildcard team with a better record. This isn't going anywhere. I've been told time and again, there's never going to be 24 owners that vote for this because when you are in a division, you're one of 4 teams, and all you have to do to host a playoff game is be the best of those 4 teams in any given year. The owners are not going to want to give up the home playoff game when you're the best of 4 teams. And yeah, you could be in a really tough division or you could be in a really bad division. Either way, it's a 1 in 4 shot in theory. Any given year you're going to host a playoff game. That's why they're never going to give that up, no matter how bad that division champion is, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt. I'm with you, Mike. I doubt that happens either. I will say I like this, proposal. It's the best one I've seen yet as far as this conversation. Yeah, below 500, and the other team has 4 more wins than that. Okay, so Pete did a good job here throwing some info at us. It's happened 4 times, or since the 2002 expansion in the NFL. But to your point, and I think another reason why it won't happen, it's happened 4 times, and 2 times that team that had the 4 less wins than the team they played, they won the game. Because, again, I think there is things like you're talking about that play into it. Strength of schedule. Wait, our division was really good. Or, maybe we had a few
Home
injuries.
field advantage.
Yeah, maybe we had a few injuries, during the mid part of the year. And we're better than a 8-9 football team. We were beat up and we made the run and showed our true selves at the end of the year. So, it's one I haven't been in favor of, but this one would make me think about it a little bit.
Well, the one that stands out most is the Beastquake game in Seattle.
Right.
When the Saints had the better record as the wild card, the Seahawks won the division with a 7-9 mark. But it's that place where they literally set the Richter scale off when Marshawn Lynch ran for the touchdown. You get the home field advantage. If they had played that game in the Superdome in New Orleans, the Saints are more likely to win. So, I don't think the rule is going to change because you're going to need 24 owners who are willing to abandon that 1-4 shot at hosting a playoff game no matter how bad your record is. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll further discuss the ongoing free agency frenzy in the NFL. More PFT Live right after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.